are you?
Thursday again, number 3 for our Making Comfort and Joy. We are excited to see Miss Rachel here soon and talk to someone, back on the other side of the country this time again.
It's great to see you guys. Oh,
there we go. She's coming.
Rach!
Hi! Okay, my face is way too big. Let me scoot back a little.
Yeah, we do that.
I mean, unless you really...
Well, I like that. We like it.
Who wants that? Nobody wants that. I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit. Hi.
How are you? How's your Thursday?
Thursday has always been my favorite day of the week. I don't know why. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Like, it should be Friday or Monday if you're that type. Which I'm not.
Judy's one.
Yeah. What is yours? What's your favorite day?
Thursday is pretty darn good because it's the anticipation of the week.
Exactly.
It's like you're not really in it yet, but you know it's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I like the way it sounds. It's my favorite.
This is going to be a great conversation.
The aesthetics. Oh, man. Oh, it's good to see you both. But yeah, I was actually dyeing yarn for you today. So
yes.
It's a miracle I'm not frizzed out. Like, it's a lot of dry shampoo holding us together.
Always. I love it. I love it. Do you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders now that Advents are out?
Yes. I love Advents. Like, I look forward to them every year. Mm-hmm. They are just a lot of work. And it's like, there's just no room for error because you want it to be perfect for people, like they've invested in just you and they've chosen your Advent out of all the Advents out there, which there are some amazing ones. So it's like, you just want to get it perfect. So it's like, until they're all done, like when I took the last one to UPS, I was like, we're done. We did it.
Awesome.
And now fingers crossed that there was no error.
Right.
Oh, you missed that batch of 50.
Right.
You're just like, oh shoot, this stack. I forgot to tell these.
Oh yeah, I look over to the right and I'm like, oh, great, fabulous. No. Okay, I'm gonna be sipping my tea throughout. I hope that's okay. Yeah. I don't need caffeine at this point, but why not?
So what's 2020 been for you out in Colorado? How has that been? It's here. How is that? You guys have hit a lot of nature things too.
Yeah, no, I'm so grateful to live because I didn't grow up here. So I grew up in Western Kansas. And like, that's, like it has its own beauty, but we just being like outdoors in nature wasn't really a part of like growing up, what you did. So now here in the foothills of the Rockies, like it's just easy. It's like 10 minutes to go for a hike. Like it's so easy to just get out and get a little fresh air and get by yourself a little bit. So that was a real, like Blake and I, my spouse, we did once a week starting in like April through probably June-ish, we were doing a hike just like, because he's working from home, I'm working from home. Emily and Kaya, my 2 part-time employees / best friends, it's weird to call them employees, let's just be honest. They're more than that. You know what that's like. Right. And so it was just us 2. So we were like, cabin fever. We needed to get out a little bit. So I'm so grateful that we daily walks, things like that have helped a lot. But
Did fires kind of start staying in more?
Say it again.
With the fires that were happening earlier, did you have to put a kibosh on some of those?
The air quality was really bad and it depended on where you were and like certain days. Yeah. So for the most part, that didn't not too much. But it is like certainly affected a little bit, but there are so many great places to hike that it's like you could just drive 30 minutes south and the air quality wasn't as bad. So
good.
I don't know. Other Coloradans, you chime in on that.
Sure.
I feel like I'm still a newbie. Like I've lived in Colorado for 10 years now, but I still, I'm not a native.
Right.
So.
Well, 10 years is just fast. I mean, it feels like I've just moved in down the street and it's almost 10 years now that you're like, what did I do with that? But 10 years is fast when you're somewhere new.
Well, how long have you been, because Melissa, it's 20 years since you bought
No, I bought the shop 15 years ago.
Yeah.
15. Okay.
But it's been a shop here for 20 years as a functioning yarn shop. So I'm the third owner. Liz and I together are number 3 and 4. So, and Liz and I have been working together since this is our 8th year.
Yeah.
Our 8th year together, but only the start of our.
I feel like it's got to be a little bit longer than that because I've been in this house for 8 years, and
Well,
I was at April Farms when we started.
Sash isn't quite when. Yeah, it'll be like the start of. Yeah, I mean.
I
Yeah.
got my years wrong.
Yeah.
Because
No, that's.
Sash knows how long.
I'm like, okay, which Taylor Swift album was out that year? Let me think. Let me just get. Let me use the true measurement, the passing of time. What year was
I'm
it?
pretty positive that first part of the lockdown,
Yeah.
I would say mid-March through the first part of May, like couldn't have made it without Reputation. It's just like, this is not possible.
It helped you. Yeah, it helped you get through. That's awesome because that's definitely more like of a that comes from like a harder place. So like that one helped you. Whereas like I do feel like at first I was very much like, give me all the soothing, like gentle. I mean, I could listen to Iron and Wine 7 days a week all the time. Like, so that's any old time for me. But for sure when I was like, what's happening in the world, like in my journal, it's like so interesting to read back. I'm not great at journaling, but I really started journaling at the start of COVID stuff because I was like, I'm gonna want to look back at like what were the things we were unsure about. Yeah.
Journaling.
And like it was all like trying to find little comforts and still like I still feel that way, but I do feel like we're navigating, like, you know, we learn more and more every day and we're trying to like integrate that into how we live daily, and masks are just okay. Like we wear masks all day while we die, and we eat lunch outside. Thankfully we have nice weather. On cold days we just sit as far apart or in separate rooms as we can. You just make it work. So
yeah, right.
I would say that's been the theme of this year, right? Has been
yeah.
Well, no,
and we were so much into it. It was kind of like what was going on in Michigan. I don't even know what was going on, how Colorado's been compared to Michigan. Do you know?
I don't know. So, well, I keep in touch with Kelly, who, you know, delicious baking goods and all around wonderful human. Hi, Kelly. But so she's kind of kept me up on it. It sounds fairly similar. Just
yeah.
But like, thankfully, our libraries were just deemed critical, so they get to stay open.
That's good. Yeah.
Did
I
you
went in for the first time like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
it's really good to be back.
I haven't been in. I dropped a few books off, but I haven't been in to like run my hands over the shelves.
Well, even that, I know. I was like, Rachel, if you touch a book, you have to take the book. Okay, I can deal with that. I can live with that. So I came home with a little bigger stock than I meant to, but that's fine.
That's great. Oh, cool. Yeah. When did you so did you shut down any of your dyeing with your employees for part of this, or did you guys stay open and just full time?
We did, yeah. At the very start, like back in March, we did like 3 weeks of just getting Kaya and Emily set up so that they can twist yarn at home.
Oh, cool.
And so my here's an insider secret to 6 and 7 fiber. My twister is a power drill with a hook at the end.
That's right. I used your lovely trick.
Yes.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, when you guys did, was that September last year when you did your June?
Yes, it was.
Oh, you mean
So
a lifetime
many
ago?
things.
Sure,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
All of the tech for us being able to do that was Rachel's like, this is the dryer, this is the rack that we use, this is the spinner.
Yay, I'm so glad.
Do that.
Yeah.
It's so much time and trial and error out. Thank you.
Well, that, I mean, hello, that is like the theme of my business is like figure it out as you go. I feel like any small business and
Absolutely.
yeah, you like, there's no, I don't know, sometimes it's like, I look at other small business people too, and I'm like in the same boat. It's ironic because it's like I'm a small business person and I look at others and I'm like, they have it together. You know, like you just feel like, oh, they must schedule things 4 weeks in advance.
Yes.
And like they must be so on the ball. And meanwhile, I'm like at my computer the night before. You know, but you just make it work, and you learn over time. That's how it was for me learning to dye. I did take one class at a local yarn shop here. And then I just got myself a couple books and just tried some things. When I first started, I was back in my laundry room, which is like the only unfinished room in the house. And I had a microwave that I got from the thrift store and some like little bowls that I got from the thrift store. And I thought I was taking great notes when I was like drawing on cups, which line to fill to. So my first like 10 skeins back in 2017, I like was so excited to list those, and I was like, I've really built up some hype. I've got like 60 people on Instagram. This is gonna sell, you know, like I was so excited. And then I was just like, but my first sales were my mom and sister, neither of whom knit or crochet. But they got on the site right away and each bought a skein.
So sweet.
Isn't that the best?
Yes.
So yeah, it was just, I think though, like from there, yeah, you just grow, you learn. Obviously I don't use microwave anymore, but things have changed. But it's just like little by little, you know, nothing too wild.
Have you been doing any of your other artwork to keep you zen during this year, or just like it hasn't even, that's more of a you wish?
I know, I'm like, I wish I could say yes.
Yeah.
No, not too much, other than those little you posted, that was so sweet, that little flower card. So that was really fun to make those. And I just last weekend took a drawing class with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology.
Oh, how fun.
They hosted it. It was like, what was it? Bird drawing or nature drawing kind of. It was really good. It was just some practices of like observation and little skill techniques. And I was like laughing a lot of the time because I haven't done it in ages. So it was just a good little thing to keep up with. But yeah, I do feel like creativity this year. Well, my friend Liz, she's a dyer. She's colorful eclectic. She's here in Lakewood as well. And she put it so well. She said back in like June, we had a phone chat, and she said, energy is at a premium right now. And it just feels like that has helped me so much to get through some of this feeling like my creativity is really low. Yeah. But it's like, you know what? That takes a lot of energy to be creative, and a lot of like lack of worry in your mind too, you know, which like getting to that kind of like free place,
or even focus too. I mean, freedom of other restraints, whether they are tasks. I mean, just the ability to just go to that place, go to the zone, and just just make. I mean, I can't seem to do much of anything for more than about 30 seconds at a time, partially because of all of the people and the things that are going on, the things that need to get done despite a global pandemic, which is really difficult to think like, I'd love to have unfettered access to creativity. I mean, it's always the goal. I actually can't believe that I'm not there yet this year. I mean, I can now because we are entering a holiday season.
Someone said my sanity is at a premium.
Yep, agreed with that. Well, I just want to say though, also like to give you some credit, and I think everybody watching will agree with me. Like, okay, so putting yourselves out there to host this every week, to say we're going to sit for an hour every week. And for me, that would be like, that's too much. I mean, I'm so impressed with you doing it and committing to that, like being vulnerable for an hour, talking about things for an hour, just being open to like very organic conversation, because this is not scripted, everybody, in case you were wondering. Surprise! But yeah, I feel like that was a real creative thing to even come up with this, making comfort and joy.
Liz came up with this idea.
I love it. It's just, yeah, it's really, and I think, yeah, it's been lovely for me to watch, for others to watch.
Yeah.
And hopefully I contribute something helpful. But I think it's like, to even find those little things. And one thing, like, so for instance, like having to make a new color every month for club colorways. So that has kept me, I think, having like, I have to do this. I'm committed to this. People have paid for this. Like, people are counting on me to do this. And so I do think there's something to be said about like the creativity sometimes comes when you've set yourself the practice of like,
yes,
this
but
needs
like, you know, there's your brain, like being able to just enjoy something. Like, what is that different of being task oriented to being like, I'm just going to enjoy and be in the moment and create? It's like a completely different spot of the brain.
Yeah.
If you do make it into, and kind of like, that's what, like you mentioning class, like I've done several classes that I like, but this one was specifically yarn shop related, so it was like more like research, but it did get me to a place where it triggered all of these other creative ideas and got my brain chugging in that direction, where for a while it is mostly just, it's hard to get out of that procedural train to get back on a creative hard, but sometimes you can kind of make them intertwine.
Well, and I was just talking with a friend last night about this, that it's one of those things where you just have to, when you are a creative person, whatever it is that you do, yeah, sure, some of it comes from a place of just like, it just happens, or luck, or you're born with it, or lightning inspiration, sure. But that's such a teeny tiny part that it's all about, like, whatever your craft is, writing, music, cooking. I mean, you aren't going, you can't call yourself a musician unless you're practicing music. You can't call yourself a writer unless you're writing. So it's like, and it's the doing, and there's nothing that you're going to get until, I mean, you just, like, there's a slog and you just have to do it. It's the doing.
It's the doing.
And I mean, you know, like, at least in terms of writing, like Anne Lamott has this like shitty first drafts. Like, that's, you know, I mean, you have to get through them. Yeah. You have to do that. There's absolutely no way. And I think that we can say that from, I think that everyone could say that from what we've done. Like, you can go to, I guess, I mean, you could still you can go to business school and say like, okay, here's the formula to doing it.
And you're still going to then have to recreate everything when you get
because
to
you actually just have to do. And same thing with not probably have all these ideas about what it means to be a successful dyer or whatever. And you can read and read and read, but when it comes down to dyeing, I mean, you're the one that has to make the magic, and you only make magic by making a bunch of shitty first drafts. Oh,
they're on a shelf down there. Yeah, they're not in the shot. They very much exist.
So specifically why we've always loved your stuff so much. You have so many color depths that we're always like, this should be muddy. How does she have all these colors? How many first drafts does it take you? Does it usually like, okay, usually around the 5th or 6th one, or you're like, look, I'm just magical from the first one?
No, I think it depends on, it's gotten better over the years. So this is, again, practice. Like, it just, you learn. So I've got my little set of like, how many is that? Maybe about 20-ish colors. And I'm kind of done adding colors. Like, I don't really want to add more dyes because I know how all of those kind of like play. And so, I'm still learning though. Like, sometimes I'll mix like one of them with another and it's like, that's not the color I was expecting to kind of come out, but that's really fun. So you kind of, I think once you start to learn that practice of like, here's how these things communicate with each other and here's what I'm hoping to get. And even then sometimes it's still a surprise, which is fine. Yeah. But no, I like, look, if it took me 5 to 6 skeins to get a color, I'd be broke. So I can't, it's not that many. Yeah. That's just me. But like, I do, whenever I make a club, I'll do like a prototype. I'll do like 1 or 2 skeins. And like, so for instance, I've got them right here. I'll show you. last month's club, October, I just happen to have these on here. I didn't prep this. It's just on my desk because I need to clean my desk.
So happy.
So last month's October club, some of you probably got it. Anyway, it was like a mauvey brown. Anyway, so these are like quite similar, but these were drafts 1 and 2, and they just weren't quite what I wanted. They're not bad, but it's just like, it just wasn't what I wanted. So anyway, sometimes it takes a little while, but I do think like, you were talking earlier about like, okay, yeah, Liz, you were saying like, you were taking classes and then that led to something and then that led to something.
Yeah.
And I love that. I feel like that's why I carry a little notepad and pen in my purse for when I like go have a coffee chat with a friend, which hasn't happened in months. But, yeah. Because inevitably you're like talking with a friend and you like, they have a suggestion for a book, or like you have this idea and you guys are like talking about this thing and you're like, I want to explore that, but we only have so much time together. So I feel like putting yourself in these positions of learning, which is like inherently vulnerable, because like to learn means you like often get it wrong the first time, right? That's how you learn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You like, it opens up this and this and this and this. So I just love that.
And I do the easier learning where right now I don't actually have to do anything. I just listen. So project anything, I don't feel like I'm failing at all. I'm just receiving and being like, oh, I'm so much smarter now. So that's really reassuring, because then I don't have to like, I think it would be, if there were any other classes, I would be more, because I always felt I have a very issue with self-confidence. And so that would be, being a scholar, that would be hard for me, but I always love the learning piece. So the fact that I can just plug in, listen to, that's what's this year has been so great. Mm-hmm. Just being able to have access to all of these people that are like, I'm going to just teach people or talk to people or whatnot. Yeah. It's so inspiring to be able to just receive information and not feel like I have to also feel like I have to have the confidence to also give information to those, because most of the time you listen to me, you're like, they are masters, they're so amazing. And so I can just be in my quiet place. They can't see me. I can do whatever and just feel smarter. Which is
the evaluation, right? Like it's like that. And we like, I feel like that's like in everyday life too. Like we're trying things and then like you put yourself out there and then maybe it doesn't resonate with someone and like that's the evaluation. Like that's an ask from them. But you know, like that's anyway, I'm like, I could go way off on that. You're speaking to a former teacher, so I'm like,
someone's we're wearing, and since they are 6 and 7,
wore them specifically as of you. Yes. And that's our favorite. I mean, we talk about this a lot. But like that's the best part about making for us. I feel like while we're working on the projects or planning the projects or thinking about planning the projects, like it's having the connection with the person that has dyed your yarn, who has made your yarn. I mean,
like I was just thinking about this sweater of being I'm going to wear that sweater. And then it immediately took me to, and I'm going to tell the story, was when you were here last and it was the sleeting snow ice thing of the winter storm where like, we're having an event in February. And it was the worst thing. But then we decided that us and Marie would all go out to dinner when literally I think there was a like public service warning, like no one go on the roads. And we're like, but we're going to dinner. And so in the county where no one's doing the roads here because
it was a Saturday night.
And so we went there, and I think we were in there for a while chit-chatting and laughing, but then by the time we left, everything was just covered in ice. Just glazed donut iced everywhere. I was wearing something, the boots that had absolutely no traction, so tall, and you have zero weight to you that you're just like, she's almost on all fours, and we're like, it looks like she's about to like take a belly slide down the parking lot to get to her, like, I'm gonna swim to get to the car. We just, Melissa and I are walking to our cars, we're just laughing, being like,
I think Marie filmed it a little. I should get in touch to make sure that's circulating.
I want to see that.
Oh, I looked back and she's just like standing there. And I was like,
you're like,
help me. But she like started walking toward, and it was like the parking lot was slightly sloped. It wasn't steep, because then we would have all been toast. But it was just enough that
was like
it was a little like ice skating. Yeah, you got a little momentum. Yeah. No, those boots are, Blake still laughs about that because he's like, those stinking boots are useless, but they're so cute, you know? What are you going to do? Oh, I was about on all fours. And this is, I just really don't like skiing, skating. I'm from like flat Kansas, like give me solid ground. I'll snowshoe all day with you. Right. But anything that's slick, no way, man.
And it was like both of you, knowing you guys both had like, again, Kansas roots, that it was like a storm that were like, go drive to Traverse City tonight by yourself, gals. Call me when you get there. I help you get out on road, and then I got over and was like, just keep going. This feels so bad.
No, you did fabulous. It was great. And like, what a great story now that we have. At the moment, of course, it was like, am I going to die here? Well, you know. It's
we all survived. So
we'll miss brunch, I suppose, the next day. But
but what a fun, like, you know, and you called it like a winter get together or something, or some sort of, you named it something that we were like, well, that turned out to be quite the omen that we weren't predicting. Like, we didn't know it was going to be.
Yeah. When we were in the brunch in the little farmhouse, and then you would just hear these heavy sheets of ice that would just fly off, and just we would all like jump. I mean, it was a bit of a horror movie, but it was adorable.
It was cozy. So cozy.
Cozy, yeah. But okay, I'm wearing this so fitted. No, what is this? The comfort. It's the pullover.
Comfort fade cardi. Yeah.
Well, it's not the cardi.
You adapted it.
It's the So Faded
pullover
by Andrea Mowry.
And I decided to steek it.
Yep.
And it worked great, but it was really scary. But it was one that I didn't want to do any of the crocheting. I don't sew. And so I found Pearl Soho's beautiful knitting, steeking, and it was awesome. And since it was just a plain Jane pullover, it was easy to be able to just pick where you're going to steek and add pearls, stitches down those specific sides, and it worked. And because I wanted to do the faded and not have, I didn't want to then have a button band to add. So this has a nice finished edge.
Nice.
So that worked. But do you want to name off these colors you see?
Okay, this is like
in the
Dyers test. Okay. With the birds is the top one. And then we've got emu egg. Yeah. Okay. Melissa, are you keeping score? You're like, yes, she got it. That looks like Lucia. Melissa's like,
Sorry, you know your own colors.
I think that's Lucia.
Yeah.
And then Penelope, I think. Yeah. And mer people.
Yeah. I forgot all of those until you said them.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Penelope is one of my very favorite characters in just like, well, I've got many, but I just love, so she's Odysseus's wife, who she's unraveling every night to keep the suitors at bay. And I really love like that. I love women that catch someone else at their own game.
Yeah.
I just am like, own it.
Yeah.
So I really love that. I just started reading this week. You probably saw this. What Kind of Woman?
Sue ordered that for me from Cottage Books.
Yeah.
And don't worry, it made New York Times #1 bestseller right like immediately. Like it's #1 in nonfiction right now.
Lovely. That's so great. Well,
I mean,
like I'm only on
first book.
Jeez.
It's her first book. It's it was it last Tuesday it came out, but first week, bam, number.
It's well deserved. I would just so this is What Kind of Woman. It's a book of poetry by, how do you say her last name?
Kate Bear, I think.
That's what I would say. Okay, so highly recommend to anyone who's interested.
Also, I'm not a huge Greek person. I'm not necessarily like mythology. That wasn't necessarily my thing. However, if you haven't read, and we've talked about this before, I think, but if you haven't read Circe or Song of Achilles,
I want to do that
by Madeline Miller.
Yep, Madeline Miller. Yep. Oh, so good. Cersei was,
Actually,
yeah.
I liked, people really love Cersei. I mean, people rave and rave and that, but I actually like Song of Achilles more. I think about that book.
Yeah.
I don't know, once a week.
Yeah. Just certain scenes that really stuck with you. Yeah. Like the way they were written, or was it just like the way the love was told?
The way the love was told, I think.
Yeah.
I think, I just, it was really good. It was really, really good. So I'm wondering when she's gonna, I mean, I'll read anything and everything.
Yes.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
what sweater are you
okay, so this sweater I'm wearing
wearing.
when I am, let's see, this is, boy, I'm going to forget her first name right now, and I feel like a chump, but the Albian Cardigan. And I knit this as written. I held one strand each of alfalfa, 6 and 7 alfalfa in White Way of Delight.
Yes. Yeah.
And I did hold a strand of lichen and lace mohair, and just in natural.
Fabulous. I love it.
Yep. So, and this sweater is super, super special to me because well, of course, this color, and of course, Anne of Green Gables, and of course, Rachel. And, but you know, your projects, one of the things that's so great about projects when you're working on them, I mean, Liz often phases out of like she can't always remember where she was when she knit. Like she almost has this thing where she
well, because I only
broken memory while she's knitting. She's like, oh yeah, that's right, I knit that sweater, but I can't remember.
Well, because I mean, not to digress real quick, but like when we talked about this year, Melissa's like, remember you did 3 sweaters this year, and I was like, what? Have I ever done? I've never done 3 sweaters in a year.
5 years ago, yeah.
And she hasn't, and those were done by May.
I was just like,
So impressive.
Because it was just, but the only time, the reason I don't remember them is because it wasn't during waking hours. Like, I mean, I physically was awake clearly, but I had to do them in the middle of the night to finish them for deadlines. So they happen in like 48 or 72-hour stints of frantically finishing, and then you're like, there's a finished garment there. So I kind of ruin. I definitely am in the place that I even was excited about something, and again, it's a deadline coming up, and I'm like, oh, crud, I kind of take fun out of my knitting, which I've got to figure out. But
that's relatable. Yeah, we've all been there.
But because this one has the memory of.
Well, because this one, I took it with me. It wasn't, I was like, I wanted to take it on a trip, but I was like, I didn't finish it before the trip. And I was like, I'm not taking more knitting in my carry-on bag. So I wore this sweater in varying states of disrepair.
I think she pulled it from me when I did that when you were here in February with this exact sweater, and I wore it without a sleeve.
I love that.
Yep.
So I think getting that confidence level that other people can wear unfinished sweaters in public.
So when I got on the plane in Grand Rapids, the sweater didn't have sleeves. You know, it just had like strings hanging down. And I think that the people that I was with, my family, they were sort of like
people I was with.
You know, sort of embarrassed. But I was like, so the second that, you know, I sit down, I take my clothes off, and get out my needles, and, you know, and then by the time we got to, I think I didn't have a full sleeve by the time we got to Santa Fe because, you know, I was traveling with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, whatever.
And so you had, even without one.
And maybe I got 5 rows done, whatever. But then, you know,
you wore so much of your trip out there.
I wore it, so I finished it fairly early on in my trip, and then and it was also, there were blossoms out there, and so Sasha was my little, you know, she took pictures of me while we were out there, and so it was me experiencing a new place for the very
Yeah.
first time. I had never been to the Southwest before.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of me feels like I want to live there later in my life, maybe at least part of the year. So, it just, I don't know. And you were there with me. Like
Yeah.
you were there with me while I was working on it and while I was in the airport and now while I'm wearing it now. So anyway,
Well, I remember those pictures. I remember when you shared that, like that you were making that, and same with Liz. I remember you shared some of the progress on your page, and it felt the same for me. Like it feels like that doesn't get old. I know I've seen some comments people saying like, oh, I'm knitting with some of Rachel's yarns now. Like that doesn't get old. That is so special. Because like I dye it like each one by hand. So Kaya and Emily help out, but I'm still the one doing all the colors. And that's really important to me. Like that's just, these are my little babies, like I love each one. A lot of work goes into each one. And so when I see someone like choosing to work with my colors, these colors are like little extensions of me. So it feels like I'm like your knitting buddy. I'm like your fiber friend. Like it never gets old to see people sharing stuff with my yarn, and especially friends knitting with my yarn.
that's wonderful.
There's been a lot of shout outs about your mug.
Oh, I got this at Powell's bookstore in Portland. I don't know where you can get it. That's all I've got for you. Nothing on the bottom. I hope that's helpful. My moon mug. I'm like fandoms I'm involved in. The moon. That's basically, all I can ascribe to.
The moon.
Every night, something new. Why not? Why not be?
It's just a tiny crescent right now, which is very.
Yeah, Blake. Poor Blake. Like we'll go on walks, and I'll like wax poetic, and I'll be like, "Look at the moon. It's still the same, even though it changes. That teaches us something about ourselves." He's like, "Yes, lovely."
He's like, I've heard you say that before.
You say this every fortnight, darling. No.
When it comes to colors themselves, okay, so say you've got your Green Gables collection.
Yeah.
That's the inspiration initially, but then after that, how do you break it down and say, like, what do you think of? Do you want everything to kind of have its own vibe? Do you want, are you thinking about a particular color, a feeling? And how do you then, even next level, how do you pick out the colors and put them together? What's a little bit of that process like for you?
Yeah. I would say for the most part, so you're right. Like it starts with like, these collections are very like centered on the work we've been given from like this author or this person. But then for me, it's like color. Yeah, color is very emotional for me. So I think it is like the emotion that I want to feel, or that I feel when I think about Matthew and Marilla, and like how he said like, but maybe we could do some good for her. Like that's so there's a tenderness. Like I can't do anything harsh in that color because like, Marilla used the same 3 bobby pins. So like the harsh bun, like, but there's some like depth to it, some darker colors, but it's like, I just want like there to be some softness to that color. And like Green Gables, that one is just like a solid because it's like, you can't not picture the shutters on the house, right? So it had to be like that color. And that one actually took a little while. That one was tough to get just so. So it is, I would say it's very emotional for me about like what, and sometimes more playful, like my Harry Potter colors, I think are more playful, like more of a rainbow. Like every time you reorder Bow Truckle, which is like my like limiest green, I'm always like, well, I don't know this is like, I love it, but it's like so bright. If it's on the shelf with all the others, it's like, who made that? Who wrote this recipe? But that show, or that, not the show, but the books and the stories, well, the movies are just more in parts quirky. Like there's just an element of fun to it. Whereas like Anne of Green Gables, I feel like is very tender. And I actually have a new one coming out, Little Women, later this month with designer Joanna Johnson, Slate Falls Press. So she's the book. And so you can see some of the colors in the book. If you've bought the book, or if you want to sneak onto Ravelry, there's a new set of 10 colors, which are all I would say tend toward like hearth and home feel. Very like wood floors. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
It's all about like that, the feel for me. Yeah.
A couple people have already said that they've done cardigans for you. You're a cardigan knitting worthy supplier, I think.
People are saying they're knitting cardigans with
done cardigans in your colorway. So it's kind of, we're both wearing 2 cardigans. People are mentioning cardigans that they've done. So
that seems like that could be a segue to something. I don't know.
Oh, right.
That was not intentional. Guys, I was the one that made you segue into Taylor Swift. How did that happen?
Liz, of all people, of all the 3 people in this conversation,
I don't get it.
Wild card.
I think Taylor Swift in general, like, is kind of my wild card.
And this is like literally when we logged on today, like, and that's getting to see you all the time, Rachel, but like your bangs and the glasses right now, I'm like, she looks like Taylor Swift. She reminds me.
I need to be curlier. It's not my wash day, so it's not curly, but that's fine. I have to say, I grew up in a very like country music was like the music of the people I grew up around. And I always joke that's why they kicked me out of Kansas. And I don't like country music. But so I didn't really like her early stuff. But in recent years, I do feel like she's like, when I think about young women and role models, I am like, go get yours, Taylor Swift. Like, she is just, I just feel, so she's been through some, she's in the music industry, she's on display, and I just love her the way she uses like everything as a mirror. Like, critique comes in and she's like, yeah, let me show you myself, and I'll be open about that, and not try to like squirrel that away and try to be this perfect little person that you want me to be. I don't know, I just think that's so fabulous. I'm gonna have to love that.
Well, and I love the part of her that is, whether you want to say, oh, what's the musicality factor of her work, whatever.
Yeah.
What you want to say about that, okay, not for you, fine. Pop music, fine. Not for you, absolutely.
Yeah.
However, you cannot deny that there is a body of work there, and her ability to reach people in a huge range of ages. But also, I realize that being a white woman, I realize that it's a lot easier for me to relate to her or whatever because of my whiteness, my,
the proximity,
my hetero presenting, whatever,
and being able to connect with her, because how she looks, so everything of your life is okay. Maybe you're not the musician, but it's similar in those kind of ways. I mean, the age isn't even that terribly off,
right?
And those kind of things that you can relate to seasons she went through, for being similar in so many other ways.
But to have this body of work and to be, I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find other people, or I should say, perhaps her peers or whatever. I mean, you cannot deny the work that goes into it. To go it, this is the thing where when people say things like, oh, I'm writing books, or, my best work is coming out, or when people are producing things right now during this, I mean, I can hardly,
mind blown.
I feel like I can hardly sometimes just like make a list that says, make list, make coffee.
Yeah. And then you're like, yes, I get to cross one of those off. Oh,
yeah, done.
Definitely.
I mean, I think that there are, so for someone to go and to make a studio album
Yeah.
during lockdown and surprise people, and for me also, the marketing aspect is kind of unbelievable. You know, where hey, dropping an album at midnight.
She couldn't stop talking about it. She was just so excited and thought it was just so magnificent and brilliant. And she's like, I already got the selfie, whatever magical thing that you got.
Oh, the filter thing.
Yeah.
You know,
it looked magical.
It was.
Felt
It's
like
the
we were
gold.
talking about magic. The way you were talking about, so excited, like it was.
So I mean, anyway, and and the only reason that I bring it up, even it's inspiring to be like, she inspires me in a way. Like there is a magnetism to Tay. Sorry, but like there's something about her, and
finding something too in this year that's what I think has been fun in a year like this is picking up on something that is so jarringly different than what you were looking for, that you find joy in something that was so different where you thought you were going to see it. And so it kind of opens up a whole new avenue for you that you weren't even prepared for or expecting.
Yes, absolutely.
That is kind of like,
Yeah.
And
I think that's like, I think that's great to still, like what you're saying about, you know, like our proximity to her, like that we would be able to relate more easily because of these things like whiteness and age and like maybe similar backgrounds in some ways too. And so I think that's fabulous to say, like, I can have this person as someone I look up to, and I can still in love want them to do better.
Sure.
And, you know, like, because I think that like when we do that to others, then that gives us the freedom to do it to ourselves. Like we're not holding ourselves to this unrealistic standard either, or being too harsh on ourselves. In love, we can say, I want this from you, so I want you to do better too. Or like, so I think it's perfect, to say like, she is someone I look up to, and she's not perfect. Right. And that's okay. Like, how could we be? How could we?
I know.
Yeah.
I thought there's been a lot of that this year too. I mean, there's a lot of people that we've been like, you have to do better. You have to do better. How about better? But there is, I feel like, I'm not going to get into, but there are some groups that are just like, not given any sort of grace for not being perfect and having to name time. And it's like, well, aren't we all in that same group where we're all human and no one's perfect, right?
Yeah.
And trying to remember that all the time too.
And
this year especially.
And working towards doing the things that I might do something really great today, and I might do something real terrible tomorrow. Yep. And I need to be open and receptive to, like, I need to be open when someone says, dude, no.
Yeah.
Look what you did.
Yep.
By not putting labels too on things, because it is such a fluid thing. These actions are so, like, there's no point in saying this person is this because of X. It's like, this moment was X, this moment is X, and how it is just this moving gray all the time. Yeah. This is a really random segment. Sorry, but it was something that it reminded me earlier when you were talking about the notebook with having with you whatnot when you had ideas. This is something that I hadn't thought about it until you mentioned the little notebook, because I'm like, I should do that. But I have a little one that Melissa probably very much so knows. My little notebook is when I'm trying to go to bed at night, or when I'm sitting at the packaging table and my mind just goes, I pick up my phone and I email a subject line of random words, whatever that note might be, to the inbox. And unfortunately, Melissa's the one that does all the inbox. So all of my notes or to-do lists or whatnot, or just like my thoughts, they go to a place that Melissa has to filter through. But it's my quickest way of being efficiently being like, we should do this. We should do this. Oh, don't forget, we got to do this. But that works really good too. Just getting that email thing that's really close at the bottom right corner of your phone. You click it open, put a subject line in, hit send, and then it's somewhere where either you or someone else gets to check it out.
So how does that work, Melissa, to be the sieve?
I don't want to know. Don't ruin it.
Okay, we won't get it. That'll
thing.
be after the chat is over. You guys can hash that out.
No, it's good. I mean,
I think that's very clever.
It's good.
Sometimes she's kind of like, what is this? What do you want me to do with this? And other times it's like, yeah, I saw those. I took care of them.
Yeah. Good. It's good. You know, I love working with Liz. You know, I feel like this year we really have nailed being able to work
and we
together.
really needed each other too.
Yeah.
Terribly. So that's been so.
Yes.
Better than ever before.
Yeah.
So
That is like one of my new favorite words is need, like allowing. Okay, there's a poem in this book again. People. Oh, just.
Everyone is a gem.
I'm on section 1 and it's like there's so much to process. So I'm like just chewing my way through that. There's a poem about so it's called Ego, and it's about a former boyfriend who didn't want her to see him eat. And it was like he couldn't. Yeah, do we need to log off? Sorry. Okay.
No.
So I thought you were pointing at the time. I was like,
that was me. I was one of those people.
oh yeah. Okay, so what she says is like he couldn't. I'm just gonna pull it real quick. Okay, he did not want me to see him need. And that's what it ends with. And I just like, so I'm thinking about that, like what that means when like a partner or a friend is like, hey, I really need, like, could you do this? Or I need a little time to do this thing, or I need a little, like just to express need is, I've just been thinking about that because I feel like need is high for all of us this year.
That's a good point. And I wonder too, like this morning.
That's where vulnerability comes in.
Yeah.
Like Cecily's quickly, when they had to come back to school, it wasn't school. We went virtually real quick, and it was, they were writing down, she got to write the word want and write the word need, and they drew their want and need. And I think it's really interesting that kind of looking at it in a bigger scope of how important those things are.
Yeah.
Defining what that really means right now. Yeah.
I'm looking at the timer really quickly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
No.
we've got about 6.
I could just.
But maybe while we're doing this, so I don't forget to mention, but there are 2 giveaways that we're doing. So there'll be 2 kind of grand prize winners. So if you log on to the Wool and Honey website, woolandhoney.com, and then at the top bar, you'll see events, and underneath it, you'll see Making Comfort and Joy. Click on that, and I'll give some directions for one that we'll be giving away. So you'll just follow that little checkout, and then we'll be able to tally you in and get that. And then the second step is for Rachel's giveaway that she's doing too, which some awesome lovelies too.
And you can enter them both.
Yes,
so
please enter them
they're I mean, you could win both.
Yeah.
You can win both.
Yeah. Does it work, Rachel? You're able to notify the winner of yours as they come in?
Yeah, I'll take care. Yep, I'll email you because you'll have to enter your email and information. So I'll email you and then I'll announce like on Instagram when I've like, hey, I've sent the email, so you can kind of keep an eye to.
And we'll put it up. We usually keep ours up for a couple hours, so we'll keep that up for a couple hours, so that will give plenty of time for everybody who's on here to log on. So cool. Yeah. What did we miss? Anything?
Well,
so much. We could just keep doing this.
I know.
And I do want to apologize to anyone while we were talking about Taylor. I'm sorry if that's not what you came here for.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's so organic. It's going to be so random.
Yeah. See, not scripted. Hello.
Random. That's not what I meant.
Yep.
Sorry.
We're just humans doing the best we can do moment to moment.
Right. Well, and it's really nice to just be able to spend time with your friends. I mean, and every one of you that is on this call, it feels like, we miss being able to spend time with you, whether we didn't get to see you this summer.
Yeah.
Or, your plans for this year were cut short, or just, we just don't get to see people as much as we would like to, in part because we are busy, in part because our children are keeping us from being able to be at the store as much as we would like. So even when customers come in, Liz and I are not here very often. We're here at night, and we're in our inbox in the early morning and the late night, and that sort of
different schedule.
But to be able to come together and see you and chat with you and just to talk. Like, we are all more than just our knitting.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
really good to just be like,
Yeah.
you can be an artist
Oh.
and also really love crunk wrap.
Yeah.
You can be, you know, but also appreciate Rachmaninoff.
Yeah.
You know, both those hold very high esteem in my heart. So
I hope you're like, this is specific and not by accident that I'm choosing these. No, I feel so. I was like telling Blake last night, I was like, I'm just so anxious, and Emily was here to work today, and I was like, I don't know, I'm so anxious. I'm like sweaty. Like, why am I anxious to talk to two of my friends? Like, but I think it was like this, you know, if I were to just talk to you two, I would probably like let out all of my sides that are, you know, and then, you know, but I was like, oh, there's people watching, so I like need to be like the professional Rachel, but Blake was like, just be, you can be all of those things. Like you can be both, and you can just be you, and like that. And I think that's so lovely when people are like that with me too. It's like, oh, what a breath of fresh air, because I get to be that way now too.
And I think that's what makes it easy too, with having the live, of being able to talk to a friend of ours. We get our guard completely goes down, and it makes it easy to then you know, just get on these fun paths with everyone.
And I wore my woolen honey pin, and you both are wearing your cardigans, so I was like, I have to show my little pin.
Love it.
My friend pin. But this is from my mother-in-law, who taught me how to knit. She got it from
and
Dyers.
I have that one too, that I have it on one of my
Mine's on my I just put mine in my fridge because my daughter loves it.
In love.
Yep. Well, we should say goodbye before we lose everyone.
Yep.
But
yes,
we love you.
Thank you so much. We love
Likewise.
you.
Love you.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for joining.
Talking to everyone.
Thank you all. It was really nice to see everyone.
Have an awesome rest of your week, and we will be chatting with you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Love
I love you.